Let's get to the point. Do you really enjoy what you think you enjoy? Every time you pick up your phone and scroll without thinking, every time you open another tab to see something that, deep down, doesn't even interest you, every time you eat without hunger, laugh without joy, consume without need, who is enjoying you, and who is the system that conditioned you to seek immediate pleasure? Here's the brutal truth. You've been programmed to chase pleasure, but never to achieve it. And the worst part is, you didn't even realize it. We live in an era where pleasure is always around the corner. But why is it never enough? Aldous Huxley predicted this almost a century ago. He warned us that true control wouldn't come through oppression, but through pleasure. It wouldn't be through force, but through distraction. A world where there would be no need to ban books because people would lose interest in reading. A world where the truth wouldn't be hidden because it would be buried under mountains of irrelevance. A world where people wouldn't need to be controlled because they'd be too addicted to their own slavery. And here you are, in Huxley's world, the world where every desire is fulfilled in seconds, the world where satisfaction is instant, but emptiness multiplies, the world where pleasure is not a reward but a drug. Because that's what they've done to pleasure. They've turned it into a control mechanism. Do you think you're free because you can choose what you consume? But who is really choosing when every option has been designed to trap you? Look around. Observe the stimuli competing for your attention. Every notification, every sound, every flash of color. A trap disguised as entertainment. Immediate pleasure is the new dictatorship. They don't punish you, they entertain you. They don't repress you, they stimulate you. They don't lock you up. They fill you with options that leave you paralyzed. So people get lost in fleeting pleasures while their real life crumbles. It's addiction. And like any addiction, it's not the pleasure that's sought, but the next dose. Food is no longer food. It's dopamine in the form of sugar and fat. Social media is not connection. It's sparks of artificial validation. The content you consume is not learning. It's mental anesthesia. They've sold us the lie that pleasure is the purpose. But what if it's the poison? Aldous Huxley made it clear. The future wouldn't be of oppression, but of distraction. And here's the real problem. Every dose of cheap pleasure weakens your ability to feel real pleasure. Children can no longer concentrate on a book, but they can spend hours watching 5-second videos. Adults can't enjoy silence, but they can fill every minute with senseless noise. Relationships deteriorate because effort is no longer justified when instant gratification is just a click away. Effortless pleasure destroys the ability to fight for what really matters, because what brings the most pleasure in life is what costs the most. The problem is not pleasure. The problem is how easily you get it. Think about it. Why has love become disposable? Because there are infinite options. Why do people no longer pursue big dreams? Because immediate gratification is more accessible. Why do you never feel completely satisfied? Because fleeting pleasure doesn't fill the void. This is how pleasure becomes a weapon. It keeps you distracted while your life passes by. It keeps you addicted while you lose the ability to feel real pleasure. It keeps you trapped in the pursuit of something that will never come. Because pleasure is not the problem. It's the price you pay for it. The question is, are you willing to keep paying? But the biggest trap is not the addiction to pleasure. It's the illusion that you need it. They've taught us that happiness is enjoyment, but no one taught us to endure boredom. No one prepared us for the void. No one explained that real life, the one that's worth living, is not a succession of exciting moments, but a series of struggles. They sold us the idea that everything must be stimulating, easy, pleasurable. And now, every time we face something difficult, we feel like something is wrong. If studying isn't fun, we quit. If a relationship has problems, we discard it. If a project requires effort without immediate reward, we leave it for later. Because the modern world has conditioned you to be impatient, to think that discomfort is a mistake, to flee from the void instead of understanding it. What's the result? A society of people unable to tolerate the slightest frustration. People who need constant stimuli to avoid facing their own thoughts. People who fill every silence with noise. People who confuse comfort with happiness and end up more miserable than ever. Here's the big paradox. The easier it is to obtain pleasure, the harder it is to be happy. The brain is not designed to live in a constant state of reward. When everything is pleasure, nothing is special. When everything is immediate, nothing has value. When everything is easy, life loses its meaning. Yet here we are, increasing the dose, seeking the next dopamine hit, the next video, the next message, the next stimulus that will make us forget for a second that we're empty inside. Here comes the worst part. Not only are they stealing your happiness, they're stealing your ability to think. Because a mind addicted to pleasure is a mind incapable of questioning. And that, in terms of social control, is the master move. They keep us entertained so we don't realize what they're taking from us. Do you remember when you could spend hours concentrating on something without feeling the need to check your phone? Do you remember when you could get bored without panicking? Do you remember when your attention wasn't fragmented into 1,000 pieces? All of that has been programmed to disappear. Every app, every social network, every entertainment platform has been designed to hack your brain, to make you unable to focus, to train you to respond to impulses rather than thoughts, to turn you into a passive consumer instead of a conscious creator. A person who can't concentrate can't learn. A person who can't endure boredom can't reflect. A person who can't think clearly can't question. And that's the ultimate goal. You don't need an authoritarian government when you have an entertained population. You don't need a censorship when people no longer have an interest in questioning anything. You don't need chains when people lock themselves in cages made of cheap pleasure. Aldous Huxley said it clearly. The love of servitude will be our destiny. But it won't be an imposed servitude. It will be a chosen servitude, a servitude disguised as freedom. Want to know how they do it? Through saturation. They've taught us that freedom is being able to choose. But when they give you infinite options, they're actually taking away your power. You choose between 1,000 series, but none of them fulfill you. You choose between 1,000 songs, but you can't enjoy any of them completely. You choose between 1,000 people with flaws, but each relationship is more superficial than the last. You think you have more options, but in reality, you only have more distractions. When everything is superficial, fast, replaceable, nothing really matters. That's the trap. The society of pleasure doesn't make you freer, it makes you weaker. Because the more conditioned you are to seek immediate pleasure, the less capacity you have to resist discomfort. And discomfort is the foundation of growth. There's no success without effort. There's no love without sacrifice. There's no purpose without pain. But the modern world doesn't want you to grow. It wants you to consume. A person who faces difficulty strengthens. A person who resists discomfort becomes independent. A person who can delay gratification becomes dangerous because they no longer need the cheap pleasures the system offers them. Here's the final question. Are you still the owner of your mind, or have you become a slave to pleasure? The first step to reclaiming your freedom isn't to put down your phone. It isn't to uninstall an app. It isn't to avoid temptations. It's to understand that pleasure is not the problem. It's the relationship you have with it. If you can control your desire for immediate pleasure, you can control your life. If you can resist instant gratification, you can build something real. If you can endure boredom, you can start to think for real. Pleasure is not the enemy. The enemy is the weakness it creates when you don't know how to use it. So the next time you feel the need to look for another distraction, ask yourself, who's in control here? Because if it's not you, then someone else is. And that, my friend, is the greatest form of slavery. Now that you know this, the question is not if you'll keep falling into the trap. The question is, what are you going to do with this information? Because here comes the scariest part. The pleasure that controls you today won't disappear just because you understand it. Your brain has already been conditioned. Your patience has already been destroyed. Your attention has already been fragmented. And if you don't do something about it, you'll follow the same path as the rest. That is the system's master move. It makes you believe that understanding the problem is the same as solving it. It's not. Knowledge without action is just another distraction. So tell me, are you going to close this video and go on with your life as if nothing happened? Or are you going to take control? I'm not telling you to become a monk. I'm not telling you to live without pleasure. What I'm telling you is to develop the most valuable muscle that exists, self-control, the ability to decide when to stop, when to say no, when to get out of the cycle before it's too late. Because if you don't learn to master pleasure, pleasure will master you. I'm going to tell you something no one tells you. The people who really succeed in life, the ones who build something bigger than themselves, the ones who leave a mark, the ones who live with purpose, they're not the most talented, they're not the smartest, they're not the luckiest. They are the ones who learn to delay immediate pleasure, to resist the temptation of the easy, to endure the discomfort of doing the hard. Those people aren't born that way. They build themselves every day, deciding what others aren't willing to decide, saying no to what others can't reject, mastering the art of doing what needs to be done, not what gives them pleasure in the moment. Here's the challenge. The next time you feel the need to seek immediate pleasure, stop, just for a second. Feel the impulse. Observe it. Recognize it for what it is, a chain they've placed on your mind. Then decide. Decide if you really want to give in, or if you want to reclaim your power. Every insignificant decision, every moment where you delay the easy to do the important, trains your brain to be the master of itself. If you start today, if you do this over and over again, one day you'll wake up and realize you're not like the rest. You don't need constant validation. You don't need instant gratification. You don't need chains disguised as pleasure. because you belong to yourself. When that happens, when you regain control, the system no longer has power over you. Pleasure stops being a drug and becomes what it was always meant to be: a reward, not a prison. So tell me, will you keep being a slave to pleasure, or will you do what few dare to do? Leave it in the comments. Write, "I take control." If you can write it, if you can commit publicly, you've already taken the first step. If this video made you question yourself, if it woke something inside you, subscribe to Psyche Nomad. Here, we don't offer easy pleasure. We offer reality. And reality, even if it hurts, is the only way to be truly free.